All right, everyone. I think we're on a little bit of a delay, but I think we'll be fine. But welcome to this week's episode of Adam and Jake on the Movies. I am Jake. We'll see how long that delay is.
A little bit of a delay, but I think we'll be fine.
What's going on here? Okay. And I'm Adam.
Okay. And every week we watch a movie and then we talk about it. We answer some questions about it. This week we are celebrating, what is Blockbuster May?
Blockbuster May, yep.
Blockbuster May. And our film is the 2004 film The Village, which was directed and written by M. Night Shyamalan, starring Bryce Dallas Howard and Joaquin Phoenix. Do you have a synopsis for us?
Surprisingly, yes, I do.
Right, okay.
The Village is about a series of events that test the beliefs of a small, isolated countryside village.
So we had both seen this movie before. I've seen it more times than you have.
Yes.
But we rewatched it.
Mm-hmm.
And let's start with our initial reaction. After your rewatch of this film, what did you think?
You know, after the rewatch of this film, I liked it a lot better the second time.
Really?
Yes. I appreciated more in the film this time than I did the first time. But I think part of that was due to the fact that I knew that I wasn't going to like the third act.
Okay.
So going into it knowing the third act made me enjoy the first two acts that much more. I didn't enjoy the third act also though. I don't like the. Can I give away the spoilers?
Okay, spoiler. If you have not seen this film, go watch it right now. Pause, yes. Leave, come back, go.
I didn't care for the twist. I think if he had went with a different ending, it would have been more satisfying. But it's well worth the watch and not a waste of time at all.
Okay, we will dig into that momentarily.
Yes.
But as for now, let me give you my initial reaction. It's never as good as the first time I saw this movie. I saw it 3 times in the theater. It's never as good as the first time or the second or the third time, but it never gets old. It literally never gets old. I was so excited to watch it. And afterwards, I felt fulfilled after. So I always worry that if I watch this film too much, it's going to go away. But so far, it has not gone away at all. So there's my initial reaction. So here comes a big one. I'll go first on this one.
Okay.
What's one thing that you wish that you could change about the film? I think there's a lot of perfection to this film. But if there's one thing I think I would change, I think it's the dialogue. I think he wrote the dialogue to try to fit the era. But maybe it does fit the era. I think it's like 1880s or something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe it does fit the era, but it for some reason the actors, I don't feel like pulled it off as well, like the dialogue aspect of it. So I would probably change that and make it a little bit more modern, because I think if it was modern, it wouldn't take away from the film, and it kind of sometimes got in the way.
Okay.
What would you change about it?
You know, I would change the twist. However, the twist is actually the whole point of the movie. Mm-hmm. So the twist would change the entire movie.
So what would you do about that?
You know, I've thought about it, and I wanted to rewrite if I'd had enough time, I wanted to rewrite or give some basic points of how I would make the third act. But a lot of the complaints that I've read and when I've done some research is that the big twist is completely ridiculous. I don't think it's ridiculous at all. I understand the twist. I just don't like the twist. I don't think it works within the context of the film. But I don't know what else would fit to say the same thing.
So you would rather it live in 1880s?
Yes, I think I would rather it had continued there and do something with the what is it? The people we don't speak about.
Those we don't speak of.
Those we don't speak about.
Yeah.
Which is what also I refer to my ex as well.
Okay, so what do you think about the main character? Who would you is this a dual? This is a weird film because there's one main character to the midpoint, and then that main character literally goes away, and then another main character shows up in the not shows up, but takes over at the midpoint.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Originally going into the movie, I thought that what's his name? Lucius
Hunt
is the main character. But as you stated, well, you didn't really state who meets their sudden abrupt ending. But
we'll do spoilers. We already did enough spoilers, so
yes, he meets his ending. So I don't know. I when I went back to visit, I had forgotten that's how Lucius meets his end. I'd completely forgotten about that.
Well, it's not his end. That's his setback, I guess.
Well, his big setback, and it was.
Yeah, it's a pretty big setback,
and I didn't expect it. Yeah. And I remember when I watched it again, I didn't expect it this time.
Yeah.
So I've forgotten. I've got an audience member over here laughing.
Oh.
So I apologize.
You know, the funny part about this film is that I feel like it's got two dual leads, but they don't change, I don't think, in the film, because she, at the beginning of the film, when we meet her as a loving, caring person who wants to do best for the group as he is, she picks up the baton and carries it. They don't change, but all of the elders do change. So it's kind of similar to what we watched. What was the film? No, it wasn't The Good Son. It was, what was the other one we watched one we watched in the last couple of weeks where the main character, it was Elijah Wood's character in The Good Son.
Yeah.
He doesn't change at all, but the mother changes. So I think it's the same thing happens here. Joaquin doesn't really arc in this film. Lucius Hunt doesn't arc in this film. Ivy doesn't arc in this film, but all of the elders, I think, arc in it, and that's the biggest change that happened.
And I do think this is different than most other films that we've watched, where I don't think there's been. Well, I guess you could say there was a tiny twist. There was a twist in The Good Son, but but not like this kind of a twist, where this totally. It kind of puts the audience more forefront than I think it does the other films.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, I would say, would be the closest.
Well,
because there was a big twist in that one that I never saw coming.
Yeah, and I guess in Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, the twist.
Oh, yep, that would definitely has a big twist in it.
Yeah, at the very, very end of that one. So
yeah,
I don't know. I don't even know where I was going on that one, okay. but yeah.
Any secondary characters pop out to you?
I liked. I don't know all their names right away, but I liked all the Adrian Brody.
Yeah,
his acting really stands out in this film.
I think he completely steals the show.
Well, there was a couple of other reviews that I had read where they said that he did, in fact, steal the show. He overshadowed everyone else.
Did you notice the young actor who turned out to be a big deal in his later films?
Who was it? I don't know if I saw that.
Jesse Eisenberg.
Oh, Jesse
He's
Eisenberg.
the one who's like, they're playing chicken with those who don't speak of, where he's like standing on the thing and he's always freaked out. That was Jesse Eisenberg.
Wow, I didn't even recognize that.
Yeah, exactly. Like the first time, actually, I did a deep dive into Jesse Eisenberg and I found that he was in this film and I was like, where the heck was he in this film? Because I'd never, and then I went back and looked at him like, that was him. That was definitely him.
So you went back just to seek him out?
Yeah. This was a couple years ago, like right after. This is when I was really into The Social Network.
Okay.
But yeah, I think that William Hurt's okay in this movie. I think he's pretty good.
I don't know if I've seen him. I don't think I've seen him deliver a bad performance though.
Yeah, he's
I've
solid.
seen him in movies that aren't good, but I don't think I've seen him do. Oh man, he did a bad job.
Yeah, I think everybody is solid in this, but I really think that Adrian Brody just absolutely crushed it. I think he was so good in this film. I'll take this one first. What do you think about the music and score? I thought the music and score, it's James Newton Howard, him and M. Night Shyamalan do everything together. I think the score is one of, if not the greatest. Hilary Hahn,
You have
is
some
the violinist.
You have some cue to play.
Oh, yeah. Hilary Hahn is the she's the violinist. There's Hilary Hahn. It's just that violin is Ivy, like is Bryce Dallas Howard's character, and it's just so perfect in my opinion.
I think so too.
And it like with you add the colors in there, like the visuals of it with the music. It's so good. I write to this music a lot, depending on what mood I'm looking for.
That's an interesting point you brought up that we might need to dive into, writing to other scores, because I do that as well quite often. Well, not often, but on a regular basis.
The one I write to for if I'm trying to write something sad is Us from Pixar. Their score, it's perfect. So did you like the score of the film?
I did like the score of the film.
Okay.
I find it also haunting.
Very haunting. Yes.
And I think this might be, I'm trying to think of some other M. Night Shyamalan scores. And
especially this one. It's like these weird tones.
Yeah. I like that. I really do like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be and I think it would also be it fit the picture perfectly. You were mentioning the cinematography of this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Probably, I would argue, in Shyamalan's best.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I don't know if I've seen every movie. I've never seen The Last Airbender.
I haven't seen that one either. I gave up on him after The Happening. And then I came back with The Visit.
The Visit, and then he also did the Split.
Yep.
Glass.
And Glass. Yep, I've seen both of those.
I haven't seen Glass yet, but yeah, I think the score in this movie is definitely worth checking out.
Did you have a favorite scene?
I'll just go with the scene where Lucius gets stabbed.
Oh, that one's so good. You don't, the way that it's filmed, you don't know that it's happening until like the camera, or it's not,
Hands down. I actually rewatched that scene just right before we started the show, and I was like, I think this is the scene I'm going to choose. Yeah. And I do remember when I was watching it, like I said earlier, the first time I'd watched it, I didn't expect it.
No. I was like, because it's so weird, because they're like standing there like face to face, like looking at each other, and you're like, what is going on here? It's always asking you the question. You're always asking yourself, what is going on? Like, what's happening here? That's what I love about it.
You're always in the dark about something, it feels like.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's intriguing enough to keep you wanting to move forward. What's going on? Where is this journey going to take me?
Exactly. I love the scene where it's one of my favorite scenes. I break up and I have a whole thing of favorite scenes. Like if I'm writing and I'm like, I just need some inspiration, I just watch some of these scenes. And this is one of them where those who don't speak of come into the village, and she stands out there with her hand waiting, and waiting and waiting and waiting, and then you see it for the first time. Well, the second time, because you see it on that watchtower the first time, but you see it coming from the side
Right.
at her,
Oh,
and then
yes.
he hits it last second, and everything slows down. To me, that's like the most beautiful scene I've ever seen in my entire life. I love that scene.
I jumped at that scene when I first saw it. It was just, oh, what? What's going on?
So good, so good. All right, let's get your final thoughts first, and then I'll do my final thoughts second on the village.
My final thoughts are: I originally didn't like this film, but it was more due to nostalgia of not liking it and holding on to the thought, I didn't like this the first time. Let me not rewatch it. So, whenever we were thinking of the blockbuster May, The Village was a blockbuster. It was a huge success. I wanted to revisit that, and what better time to revisit that during the show? I'm glad we did.
Yes.
The ending, I'm still not 100% sold on the ending. However, I do appreciate what M. Night Shyamalan was going for, and I do really like the first 2/3 of the movie really well.
Okay.
Really well.
Okay.
Cinematography, great. The score is great. I think the acting is great. I like the cast, the setting, costumes. I'm just not sold on the last part of the movie, but it's still an enjoyable movie. So I've kind of changed a little bit in that regard.
Okay. I still think this is the greatest movie ever made. I think the cast is phenomenal. Like I said, the writing, but it always keeps you, like, to me, and you know, I mean, we both do this. It's like when you watch a movie, especially a movie with a twist, you're always thinking there's something going on here, and you're trying to figure out what it was. Like I watched Prestige, and I figured it out about halfway through. I didn't figure exactly out, but I was like, that's the answer right there. I won't give that one away. And then when it came out, when it happened, the person I was watching it with, who had seen it before, was pissed because I caught. But this movie, I was always thinking to myself, because they show the boxes a little bit, but they never really say what's going on, and you're just like, what's going on? I'm just so confused, but you're scared, you're fearful, you're happy, you're love, you're like every single thing. The music is perfect, the cinematography is amazing, and then at the end, everything just like, it's like your mind is there, and it's just completely blown. Once you hear the siren, it's like, what the heck just happened there? And I actually really did appreciate it, because I think it was something that was much deeper than it was the struggle of these just hurting people, because it was a way for them to try to cope, but by the end they knew that was not it. That what they were doing was wrong. They still decided to continue doing what they were doing, but they had learned that what they were doing is not the way to deal with loss. And that's where I was like, they changed, and yet they're still in the same place that they were before.
Right.
And I appreciated that. So I still think it's the most phenomenal movie ever. I try not to watch it too much, because I'm afraid that one of these days it's going to
lose its
wear
luster
off. Yeah. But I love the moments. I love the scaredness of it. I love how they play out Adrian Brody's character at the end too. I love all of that, because once you see that character, you're like, you see what happens to him. You're just like, what is going on? Like, it just keeps you just keep asking that question. I just think it's a beautiful movie. To me, M. Night Shyamalan, I loved Signs. But like, to me, it was like Signs was here, and then he just hit it with The Village. And then Lady in the Water kind of dropped it back down a little bit.
Yeah.
And then by The Happening, I was done. So I actually appreciate this. This is This is more of my style of film more than any other film that he has, except for I think Signs is probably the next closest.
Okay.
The newer stuff, a little too dark for me.
Okay, a little too dark. And we have done quite a few dark films
Yes,
on the show.
we have.
On
Yes,
the show.
some of
Now-
we've done very dark.
Now,
But
we did 1 year ago this past week, we did The Cable Guy.
that was yes.
It's been
We
a
did
year
some
ago.
dark comedy.
Yes. So, that being said, do you have any certain movie you want to dive into next week?
I was wondering if you did. You're the
I
library.
do have one in mind, but
Okay.
unless you have one.
No, bring it.
So this is one of the first. Now this might turn a lot of people off, but it's one of the first comic book movies to be brought to the screen.
Oh boy.
The lead actor actually died while making this film. The 1994 movie The Crow, starring Brandon Lee. Have you watched this film?
No.
Okay.
This is a comic book. Are The Crow's a comic book movie?
Yeah, well, it's a graphic novel, so maybe
Oh.
not an actual comic book.
That's is that Bruce Lee's son?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm very curious to see your thoughts on this.
I don't know anything about it either. I've heard of it, but I don't know anything about it.
They've been trying to remake this movie ever since, basically, and they've never been able to. They've done some sequels to the movie, but nothing has captured the eeriness of this film, due partly to the onset tragedy that occurred as well.
Okay. I know what happened with the tragedy. I did do a deep dive into that, so I know that, but I just didn't know.
And it came out in May of 1994, which is when blockbuster season for film begins in the month of May.
Yeah. All right.
So yeah,
Cool.
I'm glad we did the Village. It was fun. I'm glad I rewatched it, and I was turned a little bit.
Like the third act is the best part.
You know, I might. You know what? I will
No,
go.
that's fine.
I will go and I will say this. I will rewatch it again.
Okay.
I will.
I appreciate that. In the well into the future.
No, probably this year. Probably.
Okay. All right.
So were we doing the other people's show, or is this it for tonight?
It's up to you. I could probably do a like maybe 10-15 minute other people show. Is it worth it?
Yeah, I've got some. My producer has left some questions that we can get into. So if people want to tune in,
Let's do that.
we'll be back on.
Yep. So next week we'll be back with The Crow. So thank you so much for indulging me in watching The Village, my favorite movie.
I enjoyed
all
it.
time.
I actually, I did enjoy it this time.
It's a great movie. So we'll be back in a little bit. Next week we'll be back with The Crow. So for Adam and Jake on the movies, I'm Jake.
Adam.
We will see you later.